Hari Om. These series of talks, I am going to dwell on certain maxims in the Indian culture. These maxims are called Nyayas or Sutras. I won't dwell it purely from a philosophical angle, but I dwell it in an angle where I take that philosophy and how you can apply it in your living reality. So therefore, you see in even my workshops, it appears I am touching the day-to-day activities of the world, but what I will be doing, the undercurrent understanding will be like the Gupta Nadi, Saraswati Nadi, you can't see, but it is hidden there in the Sangama. That will be the sutra which will be going on the undercurrent. In a certain village, there lived a king who was highly respected and revered by one and all. It so happened suddenly, the whole kingdom was caught in the fire of communal violence, which was unheard of at that period of time. The king tried his best to put an end to this communal violence, but all the effort was all futile and wasted. And therefore, all known methods did not work. And therefore, the prime minister of the place took permission from the king and said, "Oh Maharaj, please give me some time. I'll go and do some tapas. I'll do some austerity and think of a new way to solve this unique problem, for the known available methods of solving the problem have utterly failed. So we have to try something new. So I have to come out of my thinking box and try something new." The king gave his permission. After a few months, it seems he comes back and then bows down to the master and said, "I have done tapas, and my tapas has brought out a very crazy but unique solution, and I'm sure the solution is going to work because I come out of my thinking box and I've tried something different." The king says, "Try whatever you want to try, but I want our violence to be ended." And therefore, the method was, he created a magic glass box. And this magic glass box, he places in the middle of the kingdom and goes around announcing to the whole kingdom, whoever comes and stands in front of the magic blocks, you will start seeing yourself and the violence will end. That's all. But only request is, you have to come in front of the magic glass box and stand there, look at yourself, because heart of heart, the whole kingdom did not want violence, but their mechanicalness, their thrownness of their likes and dislikes, their dogmas and opinions were pushing them like a machine. So one way they want to end a violence, another way the machine in them was functioning so strong that there was no free choice. They were more like an automatic programmed person happening. So this conflict, they also want to put an end. So when they heard this announcement, the story takes a very interesting turn. The story takes an interesting turn, and the turn was, there were some people who came and stood in front of the magic glass box. Some did not come, and therefore a variety of people happened. One group of people were the so-called believers of the device the prime minister have done. So therefore they said, "Hey, the prime minister have brought out a magic glass box, and definitely the communal violence is going to come to an end. We have to trust there." They were believers, great believers, but they stopped at their belief and they did not go forward. Another group of people were disbelievers, and they said, "All this is crap, all this is useless, all this is farcical, all this is ridiculous. How is it possible in standing in front of the magic glass box a transformation happen?" This all brainwashing mechanism. And these disbelievers, they believed in their disbelief and they did not come and stand in front of the magic glass box. The third type of people were missionaries in their disbelief. They are missionaries in their disbelief. They are not sheer disbelievers. They went around propagating to everybody, "You have to come and stand in front of the magic glass box, and only then transformation and growth will happen." Blah, blah, blah. They went around enrolling people to come and stand in front of the magic glass box, but they themselves did not come. There's a third people. The fourth people were missionaries in their disbelief. They went on telling around people it's dangerous to go and stand in front of the magic glass box. In fact, you should not stand in front of the magic glass box. They were not sheer disbelievers, but they are missionaries in their disbelief. They went around propagating, but they did not come and stand in front of the magic glass box. Fourth type. The fifth type were so-called philosophers. Right? They were so-called pragmatic people who said it may be possible, it may not be possible, it may happen, may not happen. If you look at the miracles of science, some time back what was impossible became possible. So many experiments in science failed, so everything is possible. They were highly pragmatic, but they are a victim to their pragmatic philosophy. And they were not experimenters and explorers, and therefore those people spun a philosophy, it may be possible, but they did not come and stand in front of the magic glass box. The very few section of people, they were neither believers or disbelievers. They were none of those. They were simple experimenters. They came and stood in front of the magic glass box and let us see for ourselves whether it is possible or not. And when they stood, what happened? Their mirror not only reflected their body, their mirror reflected their mind. And when they saw real violence came not from the outside, violence came from their mind. And therefore, if I have to put an end to violence, I have to put an end to the internal violence of my mind there. And the magic glass box not only reflected the body, reflected their mind, and therefore they took responsibility to change their mind. And such people went through a transformation. Friends, all teaching can be like a magic glass box. You can be philosophers, you can be believers, disbelievers, but if you are of this type, who are experimenters, who are Columbus in the field of consciousness, coming and truly experimenting, then you will find your life truly transforms itself. This is an answer to a question somebody has asked me yesterday, who has given a note there, and the note is, he says, my son's self-esteem is very poor. He says, my son's self-esteem is very poor. He has not got a job. When I was working, even my self-esteem also was very poor. But at that time, I got a job. But right now, my son is not able to get a job, and therefore we are going through tension. I'm not mentioning the name of the person. My invitation to that person is, let your son come and do the life workshop. In the life workshop of my 3 days workshop, I'm going to just present a classic matchbox. But now you can be this or that, or you can be an experimenter. Because once when you see your low self-esteem is not because you have not got a job. Your low self-esteem is about your mind not capable of facing the challenges of life. And whenever we don't face the challenges of life, you know what happens to us? We start pretending that we are strong. This is what the mystic says. We become what? We create an imaginary self. I've seen so many people, their self-confidence is poor, but they pose their self-confidence is busy. They are good. And when you start posing, it is like as idiotic as this person. Somebody goes to the office of a person. When he goes to the office of a person, this man poses is very busy. Poses. In the phone, he is talking to somebody. In the computer, he is setting. Actually, no work this fellow has got. But he's posing, and two people have come to see him. He's posing, he's talking to the phone, computer. Those people wait for 20 minutes. Then afterwards, he says, now tell me, what is it, sir? He says, no, I have come to repair your telephone. I asked the other person, I have come to repair your computer. All posing. Right? Imaginary self. First thing, let the parent teach the son. You have not got a job, you have not got a job. Don't pose. Because once you pose, an imaginary self comes. The second thing, please see, the whole art of self-esteem is motivating your child to do this. Please reflect. And in my workshops, I touch on this deeply. In Germany, there was a very good teacher in a very reputed industry, in a college. He was teaching people very beautifully, but he, like Harvard in States, reputed this one, and he saw the best of students when they went out, they were not really successful. The so-called mediocre students were really successful. He said, I'm teaching the best, and how is that the best student academically are not successful and the mediocre people are succeeding, and therefore what is the point of my teaching? It seems he left the job and did research. He did research. What's the secret of success? Nearly 10,000 to 20,000 people, he studied successful people. And you know what is the answer he got? He realized successful people are not people who are academically number one. Successful people are not people who came from very good families. Successful people are not people who have got the so-called the pluses of life. He realized successful people are people who knew the right strategy. The secret of success is right strategy. And the right strategy involves not your sheer knowledge. Knowledge is an extra vitamin. The strategy is the ability to see gaps and cashing on those gaps which exist in the world. And this is what I want to advise your son. The ability to see gaps. You see in your garden, you have hedge. When you have a hedge there, one rose, another plant, another rose plant, another row plants. Now the creeper will go through the gaps. And when it goes through the gaps, an hedge is created. Right? So therefore, every aspect of life, there are gaps. Your son should be able to see those gaps. People are too busy not seeing the gaps. A successful man is one who sees gaps which are there and then go into those gaps there. And therefore, this author writes very beautifully. He says, a simple known thing in physics. The known thing in physics is, if there's a bridge now, and if this simple sparrow, if a sparrow goes at the right point on the bridge and hits it at a certain frequency for a period of time, the bridge is going to collapse. It's called the law of resonance. The bridge will collapse. A sparrow hitting on the right point. So therefore, what is important is the right point for you to cash. So therefore, you have to advise the son, be calm to see where the gaps are. And once there are gaps there, in everywhere, that's why I tell people, executives and business people, even in your business, don't create a conflict with your competitor. Try to support your competitor. Make your enemy your friend. That's the best way of becoming rich. Even to your competitor, support him, but also have the acumen to see gaps. And in those gaps, wherever your competitor has not cashed, make him see that. And those gaps where he has not worked well, cash on those gaps. And in existence, always there is gaps. A good musician is one who learns how to use those gaps. So first thing, teach him that. Second thing, every parent should teach the children how to be self-confident. Self-confidence happens, please see, when you know how to use your body richly. When you know how to use your voice richly. When you know how to use your thinking richly. And therefore, whole art of self-confidence, learning to use something. Not pretending, but learning to use it richly. When you are talking, use your voice richly. Don't eat your voice. Right? You're not pretending, but bringing. This is called in the sutra, Sthira Sukha Asanam. This is one of the sutra maxim. Keep your body sthira and keep it sukha. Be it happy. Because your happiness should not depend on success. Every parent should teach the children. Happiness depends upon an attitude. Happiness does not depend on success. Success is an alankara in your life. So therefore, happiness depends on your commitment. So sthira sukha asanam, our yogi says, keep your body sthira and sukha. Keep it happy. Right? When you say happy, it should be happy. When you do this, your aura is going to be different. And your aura is going to touch your employer. Your aura is going to touch your customer. And therefore, in that space, please see, go around. Right? Go around in that space there, and therefore, you have not got a job, maybe that's the time nature wants you to think. Where are the gaps? Like Walt Disney looked at a rat and created Mickey Mouse. The Beatles were not at all successful. Their voice were not accepted, but then they became such a super hit. Right? So be there, see the gaps, develop strategy, be with successful people. Project your body as alive. And therefore, you will find when you start doing, you will operate from an abundance, richness. All successful people came from abundance. All failures came from poverty. So you have a psychological poverty or you have a psychological abundance. That depends on your commitment to life. Your self-esteem, if your son, will change when you have taught him how to come from abundance and not scarcity. Sthira Sukha Asanam. Hari Om Tat Sat.